Welcome to 12 Gauge Investigative.
In the shadows where the truth hides deep, echoes of the lost and the secrets they keep. Cold cases burn in the back of your mind. We dig through the dark, one clue at a time. This ain't fiction, this is blood, this is truth. 12 Gauge investigative, justice uncaged. We ask the questions they're too scared to say, shining a light where the guilty pray. From killers to whispers, we won't look away.
All right. Happy Sunday to everyone. My name is 12 Gauge. Welcome to my channel, 12 Gauge Investigative, where we dive in and we don't stop until justice has been served. You know, it's sad that in some of these cases, justice has not been served to the fullest, but we have to accept exactly what justice is. You know what I mean? We're heading down to the great state of Texas. And what do I mean by that? Starting July 4th, we had an awful event here in the state of Texas that has totally devastated families, has devastated communities, has devastated what was meant to start as a good time that ended up in tragedy. Hold on a second, y'all. I'm like going through some of these and deleting some of these backgrounds because I'm not going to be using them anymore. And you know, people ask, yeah, I'm safe, thank you. I left just in time because the rain was coming this morning. I left DFW just in time. The rain was coming. Um, you know, now I can give you the update that I wanted to give you the other day and show you a little bit about what these rain actually does. And people have those questions. How come people didn't get out faster? Well, let me answer that for you because there is a simple answer to that. There was no time. Plain and simple. There was no time. And you say, well, how can there not be time? 12. Well, I can tell you that when the water is flowing and is raging, you don't have time to outrun the water. You know what I mean? Yeah, and it's called flash flood for a reason. You know? Very true. Very true. You're right on point. And once again, people don't have the knowledge. All they have is the ability to sit there and talk shit. And I've heard a lot of stuff about these floods, like people actually know. The one question that I have, and this is not meant in any disrespect before I start this video. You know, most of the missing were younger age children. And most of them were down by water's edge, by the river's edge. I wonder if small children they wanna be close to the water. That that's not here nor there. But I hope that they kind of change how they do things from here on out once they rebuild. You know, I hope that they actually do different things because this seems to be a yearly occurrence lately about these floods. I mean, if not yearly, at least every 3 years, you know? So let's see what this video had to say, and I will talk on it time to time.
It started with rain, nothing unusual. A forecast for storms, the kind Texas has seen before, but in the dead of night, under clouds blacker than ink, the skies opened up, and within hours, a peaceful hill country river turned into a monstrous torrent.
Look at that. So you're telling me that if you're alongside the riverbed and it all of a sudden swells to that level, you're going to outrun it? There's no way in hell. Yeah, and all that stuff washing down the river. There's no way. There's no way. People don't understand the force of the water. They really don't. They really don't understand a lot when it doesn't meet their narrative, man. And then they swear that the mainstream media is making all this stuff up. Look at all that water in the background, all the trees that are engulfed in the water, all the stuff that's in the water, all the debris, everything. Rest in peace, those sweet angels.
By dawn on July 4th, more than 50 people were dead, many of them children at a summer camp. Camp Mystic, a Christian retreat nestled along the Guadalupe River, became a nightmare. Bunk beds were ripped apart, teddy bears covered in mud, a girl's sandal caught in a tree branch 15 feet above ground. The flood didn't just kill, it erased.
People ask those questions. But the forecast wasn't even supposed to be forecast for that amount of rain. I think I read and heard that the forecast was calling from 3 to 6 inches of rain. Yeah, I've never seen anything like that day before in my life. Looks like a bomb drop. Yeah, because you can't control anything that you encounter. Like, look at these cabins. I mean, when people think of cabins, they think log cabins, obviously. These are the cabins here in Texas. They're mostly made of brick and rock, and they're pretty damn sturdy. But look what it did to those windows and everything around there. I mean, it just totally just took everything. And these are on higher ground, I'm sure.
So how did it happen, and why wasn't anyone prepared? The answers lie in a perfect storm of science, geography, and failure. Texas Hill Country is beautiful, but deadly. It's part of what scientists call Flash Flood Alley, a crescent-shaped stretch of land known for its steep hills, thin soil, and rapid runoff. When rain hits here, it doesn't sink in, it flows, and fast.
So you could be an awesome swimmer. Look at the current on that water. Look at the current on that water. You're not going to survive it no matter how good of a swimmer you are. There are some people that did survive. I'm not trying to be one-sided here, but look at that current. If you've ever been caught in current like that, it's hard to get out of.
A rare atmospheric phenomenon developed, a mesoscale convective vortex, a swirling pocket of air about 30 miles wide. It grabbed moisture from the Gulf of Mexico and hurled it inland like a fire hose. One after another, training thunderstorms struck the same area again and again. Over 1.8 trillion gallons of rain fell on the Edwards Plateau in just a few hours. That's
1.8 trillion gallons of water. 1.8 trillion gallons of water fell. That's a lot of water within a 3-hour span. I just love Dallas Fort Worth. And I don't doubt in the coming days that we don't start hearing about the floodings over there, because they were having flash flood warnings as I was leaving this morning at 9 o'clock. Something told me, get out. I got out. So look at those trees, how thick they are and how they're uprooted. That looks like some kind of trailer with something on it. Just overturned it. I mean, have you ever seen those tornado videos? This kind of reminds me of that, except there's water everywhere.
4 months of rain in a single night. National Weather Service did issue alerts. Flood watches were posted Thursday afternoon, but their models predicted 3 to 5 inches of rain, not 10, not 18. By the time flash flood warnings hit phones at 1:14 a.m., it was already too late for many.
No warnings at all. They came hours later, which was the most devastating part. We got the warnings on our phones hours later. The destruction had already been done before the warnings came out.
At Camp Mystic, parents say the floodwaters came in darkness. A wall of water smashed through cabins while kids slept. Counselors shouted. Some tried to swim. At least 27 girls are still missing. So why is this happening more often and more violently? Scientists point to one cause: climate change. Warmer air holds more moisture. Warmer oceans create more water vapor, and the result: heavier, more intense rainfall everywhere. Ocean temperatures in the Gulf have been above average for months. That gave this storm extra fuel and nowhere to go. Like squeezing a sponge again and again and
Look at that. That tree fell on that brick wall didn't hold a chance. So tell me, before I go on, what are y'all thinking right now as I'm presenting this? Chat, tell me what you're feeling or what you're thinking. Because, I mean, a lot of people have a lot of different thoughts on this, and I'd like to know y'all. Like I said the other day when I was talking about it, I'd like to know the chat exactly what their thoughts are. Phoenix says, I've seen interviews with people in Helene, and they said the same thing about the warnings. Isn't that terrible? That you don't get the warnings till after the devastation has already happened. After you've been caught up in these areas and these situations that have happened. So tell me in the chat what y'all believe or think about these things. I think it's horrific. I can't imagine being a parent of one of the missing girls. It's devastating. I 100% agree on that, Aquarius. 100%. I can't imagine getting that phone call. Your child is gone and missing. Gut wrenched. I've watched a lot of different news outlets and seeing those parents frantically searching, knowing they know deep down what the result is. It breaks my heart. I was thinking about the counselors trying to get them out. The kids, who do you help? Exactly. How awful. Yeah, how awful. In the middle of the morning, 4:30 in the morning, you don't really understand what's going on other than that there's a bad storm, and then all of a sudden you hear the rumbling of the water, and you're engulfed by it. I saw where the organizers and owners of the camp killed trying to save the kids. Yeah, there was a pastor that was killed. I saw. I mean, it went all the way down this area. Georgetown, San Angelo, Llano. I mean, you just, I can't imagine.
And again, nearly 40 years ago, the same river took 10 lives during another summer camp evacuation in 1987. The parallels are haunting. Same county, same river, same children, same mistakes. Texas officials and the nation are asking hard questions. W. Nim Kidd, head of Texas Emergency Management, says the rainfall was never in any of the forecasts. But the Weather Service Union defends its teams, citing staff shortages, outdated systems, and a broken pipeline between warnings and action. More than 850 people have been rescued. Coast Guard helicopters are still flying. Drones scan.
You know, we need to stop with the excuses. We need to stop with the blaming. This is my opinion alone. We need results. I'm so sick of this world blaming and making excuses for the reason that things are what they are. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. Quit making excuses and start making results. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, this stuff is needed to be changed. Make the change. You don't have the money. You'll definitely have it now. Don't misinterpret it as fake outrage, because it's not. It's awful what happened. Yeah, nobody wants to take accountability for anything, much less the negligence that goes on. And I understand people get upset at stuff like that, but you know what? You have staff shortages for a reason. That means that inflation is so high, the salary that you offer doesn't account for people willing to go to that place and work for the salary that you're paying. That's part of the problem. Everything is so expensive, the salaries can't catch up. And all these social first responder situations, all this stuff, there's not enough people for that reason. And it's terrible. It needs to change. It really does. Otherwise, things like this are going to keep happening because they're not going to. I mean, Texas is different than other states. I guarantee you, hopefully, that they're going to make added security measures. But like what you heard, they happened before and nothing changed.
And mud-covered riverbanks. The search, officials say, is still a rescue mission, not yet recovery. But time is running out.
I'm declaring a state-based disaster for those in the following counties: Bandera, Coke, Comal, Concho, Gillespie, Kendall, Kerr, Kimball, Llano, Mason, McCullough, Menard, Reeves, San Saba, and Tom Green counties. This will ensure all the counties that are identified in this, and there may be more that need to be added later.
That's the governor. I'm working on getting truckloads of bottled water shipped. Which area do I need to prioritize? Well, this was Hunt and Kerr County. That's where the most damage happened. Gage, are they expecting more? Yes, it's currently raining right now. You know, and I will show you the forecast of what's going on at the moment. But you saw those counties affected.
Are going to have access to every tool, strategy, personnel that the state of Texas can provide to them, which will be limitless.
We can't control the rain, but we can prepare for it. Flood forecasting must evolve. Infrastructure must improve. Public education must become urgent, because this won't be the last storm. Texas is learning, again, that in Flash Flood Alley, just 5 minutes of rising water can take everything.
You know, one thing that I hope that they do work on is the infrastructure, because a lot of these areas, such as these rivers, have carved out through time, and the banks they're basically like mortar and cement with rocks along the edges. And you know, they got to do better. Something they got to do like a, I don't even know. I'm not one of these people that works in that line of work, so I don't know what actually they need to do to make it different. Let's watch another one. I don't know. I have not watched any of these, so I'm watching these with you for the first time. But it just said Idaho for flooding, boy, people would be over here. But you know what? Screw that case. I'm done with it. This is the San Gabriel and Guadalupe River. I guess there's no sound, so this is like drone footage, which is awesome. Or maybe not. Look at that. All this empties into the Gulf. It runs all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico. There's a big Colorado River. There's the Rio Grande Valley. Obviously, there's the Rio Grande River. All of this empties down, because it goes at a slope. So they they kind of branch off in different variation. So imagine being right here on this road, and all of a sudden you see a wall of water coming. You try to back up, you try to go forward, but that water is going to hit you before you're able to get out of there. And then your vehicle becomes tumbling like what you just saw. And it's terrible, man. And that's what's left after the water comes through. Because that water has to go somewhere. It doesn't just stay there. See, look at the original river. So all of it on this side overflowed. This is the original river. Wow.
All the game wardens. This is Can't Miss It. Trying to find. Just can't miss it.
And not only early morning, but you have to listen to all these trees just snapping as the water's coming your way, not knowing what the heck is going on. Those little girls were 8 and 9 years old on up to 17. There was a 19-year-old person, she was a counselor working there. She had just graduated from high school not long ago, and she was going to the University of Texas, and she's been missing. There was another individual that was celebrating with his family that were in two RVs, I think, that tried to get his family out through a window, and he smashed his hand through the window, and it cut the artery. Well, it probably did it like that. And the water was raising, and his family was trying to save him as the water was rising in the RV, trying to get them out.
Yeah, you want to get it once we get over.
Game wardens everywhere. Trying to find. Please pray.
No, they.
Leave your thoughts and your comments in the chat. Let me know what you're thinking as you're watching this. What you're feeling as you're watching this. Total devastation. I mean, the waters must subside, right? They can't be rushing forever. That's why they call it a flash flood. That's why it's not ongoing, because it comes out of nowhere, because there's so much water that's falling all at once. I can't imagine. And there's no way to run, nowhere to hide. I mean, that water does what it wants to do. I mean, I've seen images where there's been houses floating down, there's boat ramps floating down, there's all kinds of stuff floating down these rivers. It reminded me of Katrina, like when I was watching that footage. That water would literally be almost up to that center of those piers on that bridge. Look at that truck rumbling down the river, just tearing the hell out of that truck. I mean, look, if you look at this right here, this is how a lot of them are set up. There's a main road up here, and all the camp and stuff is usually under these trees. higher, but like what we heard, the water rose so high it caught where, I mean, you could have been probably 300 feet from the water and it rose so quickly that it just engulfed everything in its path. So, I mean, really, I got to rethink what I said about the kids being that close to the water. They could have been 300 yards away, you know. To be more sensitive to what I say rather than to just spout out stuff. But this is how most rivers are set up in the state, especially in the hill country, because that's where the most of the tubing industry does happen. You know, these rivers run and people tube down them, you know, drinking beer, having fun. They use these tree lines as shade during the summer because it gets hot. I mean, but you think of how wide that flood surge was, you know, then it makes sense that it would have proliferated into the camping area because it's not going to stop. It's going to just keep on going right through there. See, some of these rivers aren't very wide, but once you get that flood water going through them, it looks like that, you know? I mean, they'll have that cleaned up in probably a week. All those branches and all that stuff, you know? They'll have that cleaned up in about a week. And then you just wait for rain to get the river flowing again. I mean, can you imagine going down river on that flood and hitting that thing? Jesus, that would be the end of you. Look, see how those houses or apartments or condos, actually they're condos, I bet, and they're way up. But that's how far the water has rose, and they're right next to those condos. Look at the water in the background, how it's flowing. All it takes is for that land to give, and those condos are going too, you know? It's a beautiful area. Wow. I mean, I saw where this one woman got carried 12 miles downriver and she was clinging to a tree for more than an hour before somebody came to help her. So you're waking up at 4:30 in the morning, not being able to see anything, and all of a sudden all that hits you. There's nowhere to go. You're trying to swim to shore or some kind of stable land. I forget. We have superheroes here on YouTube who, they would have made it. They wouldn't have let themselves be like that. Yeah, I forget about that. Look at that water raging. It's a lot of water. You ain't gonna see me tube at that bad boy. So look at all that tin and all that stuff under that bridge that's being caught. All that debris is wow.
Let's head back out to Jordan Elder. She is out in Ingram. Is that right, Jordan? Tell us where you're at and what you're seeing.
We're at the Blue Oak RV Park right now with the owner, Lorena Guillen. As the sun has come up, the devastation here has become so clear. Can you walk us through the night that the flood happened? When did you realize that it was going to be this devastating?
Nobody could have predicted this much devastation. I started seeing the heavy rain around 1 o'clock. By 2:30, I checked the water levels. I went all the way to the edge of the river, and it was fine. It was perfectly fine. And called the sheriff's department. I asked them. They had no information, and I went to bed. And at 3:30, the lights of the rescue team awoke me. And my husband and I ran over here, and the bottom part of my RV, which is the second level, was completely all the way to the waist. I mean, people were trying to get out of their RVs in their underwear with no shoes, nothing besides their pets, and some of them lost their pets too. But by that point, the rescuers were trying to get a family of 5 that were stuck all the way where those trees are.
Colton, can I have you show? They were on kind of an island over here. Is that kind of where the electric poles are now?
Yes, and over there is still the bathrooms. The family of 5 was right there within 10 feet of the water, having a beautiful time the day before. I mean, it was just perfect weather, perfect everything for on the 3rd, and then it just turned. So at 3:30, when we saw the rescue team trying to get them, they had 2 fast boats. They were the right team to get to them, and they couldn't. The waters were rising so much, it was insane.
So imagine that for a minute. The water is rising so fast that nobody can get to you. Wow. Wow. 79 confirmed deaths and 10 missing campers still. The numbers keep going up. But this whole RV park, I guess, was washed off.
We had about another 20 minutes to get everybody out of here, and they barely were able to grab their belongings, jump into their cars on the upper level, and take off. But 20 minutes later, the water was up a good 40 feet in this area, and it was just everything was gone. Every single RV and vehicle, it was gone. Got washed away.
Do you have an estimate of how many RVs were in this area?
Yes, I had 28 up here, and I had 5 on the island, and everything is lost. Everything's gone.
Have they started to find where those RVs were ending up?
Yes, there is about half a mile now down the river, there is a wall of about 30 to 40 vehicles all smashed together, and just and they nobody's been able to get to that, but there's a lot in there, and it was just very horrific night. At one point, you can see lights because it was pitch black. At that time of the night, it was just so black, and you could see the lights of vehicles getting washed off from upriver, and you can hear honking. You can see anything, but you can hear honking and you can hear the screaming. The cabins next door keep smashing against our trees. You can see the scarring of the trees, and that's where they were hitting. That's how high they were getting flushed.
These were the cars hitting the trees that was pulling the bark off.
Yeah, and the cabins from the RV park next door keep hitting, keep getting smashed.
I mean, can you imagine watching that? It would almost be surreal, like you're watching a movie or something. It just wouldn't be. It wouldn't be real to some people. I mean, I don't think I could sit there and watch it and be like, "Wow, is this really happening?" There's some of you in the chat that have obviously experienced this, and man, I hope never to have to experience something like this.
Smashed against the trees, and there was screaming. I mean, and you couldn't see much, but the screaming was unbearable. And so, I mean, we are one of the luckiest one because we only have 5 people missing, unfortunately. But I was able to get everybody. I mean, my husband and I were banging on doors, getting everybody out. We had the rescue team here because one of my residents heard them screaming at that, in the middle of the night around 3:30 or something like that. And he called 911. And that's the only reason why they were here so soon, so fast. And at one point, the manager next door, she came on running here, said, "We need help too," because they didn't know. And they lost a lot of people. I mean, they had so many missing people at that point, like close to 40 people missing just there, and us 5. That's 45 people in a matter of 1 hour. So it's just incredible. I mean, the force of that water was so insane. Nobody could get into it. That my resident, that was the one that called 911. He was trying to get to the family and all the way to his waist, and debris hitting him, and he was yelling, "Please throw me your baby," and they couldn't, and they got swept away, and we all saw it and we all heard them.
And the person that was trying to rescue them, what ended up happening to them?
He got out just with his clothes on. He lost his pets as well, and he had just moved in to enjoy the beautiful summer that we were having. The temperature was right. I mean, you have to understand, Kerrville is an amazing community, small town, but on 4th of July, we go all out, and we hadn't been able to because of the drought. So everybody was mindful of the fireworks and things like that. But this 4th of July, it was the perfect weather. I mean, it was gonna be in the 80s, 90s, and it had been raining, so everything was kind of wet already. So it was perfect because we could go crazy with fireworks. So everybody was so happy, and everybody was we're gonna have the best 4th of July ever. Every restaurant had bands playing, everybody, and we were all full. I mean, there were tents camping along the river all the way to New Braunfels. And what happened to them? I mean, there is no way to account for those people. I mean, I just don't know what's going to happen now. I mean, I don't know how, we're going to get past all this. And when everybody asks me, what are you feeling? I'm like, I just want to know what now. Like, I have bills to pay today, not in 3 months. I have a restaurant with employees that they need to work to make a living. You know, you think, oh, 2 3 days off. This a lot of my employees live day by day, and so do I. You know, my husband and I bought this property 4 years ago as our retirement plan, as our little piece of paradise, and that's what it was.
Has anyone from the city, the county, the state, have they come to visit you?
No, not at all. Not one single one. And that's why, you know, I'm talking to you guys to bring awareness of the area. We need so much help. I mean, I'm just don't understand why we have so many military bases in Texas with people there right now. Why couldn't they be here now? I mean, San Antonio alone is just an hour away. We have Lackland, we have Fort Sam Houston, Del Rio has a military base, El Paso. Everybody could have been here that day to help, because yes, I understand the National Guard is rescuing and recovery, which is obviously essential, but you know, that wall of cars half a mile down here with 30-40 vehicles, they have to look. That is part of the recovery, because I know there's bodies buried in there. We know that. I mean, every time we tried to get some of the debris against the tree, we're afraid that we're going to find somebody in the middle of it. So the clean up is part of looking to see what they can find. Maybe I don't know. I just think we should have gotten help a lot more, because all the cleanup that has happened here, and believe me, it's very clean up. They already dug up a car from my parking lot, and that was completely buried. It was done by volunteers. I had probably about 60 or 80 people in here volunteering, helping, and that's how we were able to clean this much up and be able to drive over. But that's it. I mean, we need the military. We need our.
I mean, that's what's sad. It takes time for aftermath situations to be cleaned up because, it's still raining. So you just don't, you want to go in there to clean it up, but yet, if you're going to have to deal with it 2 days later, I mean, it's counterproductive, obviously.
Our military here to help us with this incredible disaster. I mean, I have some of my customers are in their 90s, and no one has ever seen a flood with this magnitude. No one, not even the 87, the 98, the 2000 and whatever. No, this is a 500-year flood.
So you mentioned that you were out knocking on doors, telling people to evacuate. We were hearing that morning that down in Comfort, there were flood sirens and alarms sounding to alert people. Is there anything like that in this area?
No, there is nothing here like that, because I don't know how long. I think Comfort was, I'm going to say, lucky enough because we were already alerting the authorities at 3:30, so they knew there was water going that way. They knew it, so they had a little bit of warning, more than we did, because we had no warning.
And then I just want to show people there's still water over here, but you say this is not actually where the river is supposed to be. This is still technically drainage.
Yes, that is correct. The river is, if you see that electrical on that tree, the river should be about 3 or 4 feet below that.
Wow. So this is all still draining. Again, we are at the Blue Oaks RV Park. There's restaurants here. There were cabins here. We've been speaking with Lorena Guillen, who is the owner. It's a very troubling scene out here. We're going to continue capturing this video for you. For now, we're going to send it back to you guys in studio.
Before we let you go, she mentioned that there were 28 people parked at the RV park. 5 were on the island. Was her park full for 4th of July weekend?
Hold on, let me answer some of these questions. How far away am I? I was, when this happened, I was probably, let's say about 4 hours away from it. Is there anywhere near Lubbock 12 gauge? What do you mean? Like any flooding or anything like that? Not that I know of. It just, like the state, the hill country is like one big ravine that's cut through with rivers. And that's where people go tubing, RVing, all that stuff during the holiday time. So it just sometimes it gets you off guard. You know what I mean? I've been down to that area. You know.
The,
Actually, I'm heading to Kerrville in a couple weeks.
was the park full for 4th of July weekend with people that were here?
Yes,
Thank you.
absolutely. I had, thankfully, the other half of my guests that were coming on the 4th.
So there weren't as many people as there could have been.
Yes, that is correct. But I know everybody else was full. I was probably at 80% capacity at that point, with the other 20% coming on the 4th in the morning.
Well, thank you so much for talking to us. This is absolutely devastating. And thank you for your kindness and for speaking to us.
Thank you very much.
And Jordan, let her know that we will get her name to city and county officials to get her the help that she needs, and your exact location so that they know where search and rescue folks can look, especially when she believes, right, there are people downstream.
Yeah, because there's resources available, absolutely resources available. The governor has already said that as much, but I'm sure they're searching on search and rescue right now. All right.
Thank you, Jordan.
Wow, look, there's 12 gauge right there.
Okay, Dylan's hanging with me because we want to get to our own Peyton Yeager, who has been doing some just incredible work down there on the ground in the zone. And Peyton, I understand you are actually in Camp Mystic.
Hi, Casey. Hi, Dylan. We are at Camp Mystic, and I know the city manager just mentioned they are going to do everything they can to find these girls. At the last update, 11 missing campers and 1 counselor here from Camp Mystic. We are just along the shoreline of the Guadalupe River. Behind me, it is all hands on deck, cleaning, finding information here at Camp Mystic. I'm going to move out of the way because we do have the side of this building here on the Camp Mystic grounds was completely washed away. And you can see those troopers in front. Also, if you see people in ponchos, it is raining off and on here in Hunt, Texas today. So making those search and recovery efforts harder. So we do have that building. I mean, it's right up against the river. So you're just imagining in the middle of the night, like Dylan mentioned, that water rushing down this river. But we do have some girls that I'm going to talk about in a few minutes who are from North Texas. Their families are here in Kirk County, and they are getting that devastating news that those little girls' bodies were found. And there's also families here who have not received any information. Again, 11 missing girls from Camp Mystic and 1 counselor. All of those are unaccounted for. Again, it's all hands on deck. It's devastating to see. We have people here, employees, we have first responders here at Camp Mystic, pulling, there were trunks. I'm a girl.
See, as you can see, the cabins are made of stone. They're not made of log. So, I mean, you can see blankets and all kinds of stuff out of these cabins. I mean, they're just terrible.
Oh, we went to camp.
Those poor people.
Decorated trunks. We were so excited. So we were, they were pulling trunks that were close to the river. And then we also have people who are taking stuff out of what looks like cabins, their buildings. So we've seen them pulling out mattresses, anything to identify these little girls. So what we know, what I've been covering and talking with these North Texas families as my photographer, pans around and on social media, if you know Lila Bonner and Eloise Peck, they are best friends. They're from Dallas. They came to Camp Mystic together. They did not survive the floodwaters. They were going into the 3rd grade, attending Bradfield Elementary and Highland Park ISD. I know Highland Park ISD and University Park up there in Dallas. They are deeply hurting tonight. Also, I want to mention 9-year-old Janie Hunt of Dallas. She died. Her family confirmed to Fox 4 yesterday. And we know there are other North Texas families and so many families who are just waiting for answers. I'm going to have my photographer pan here to the left a little bit, if you can, just to show this way. I'm so sorry. Just to show the river that came through and just blew over these trees. And we've seen men who are searching along the shoreline. I do not know who they are. I do not know if they're first responders or associated with the camp, but there's this man in the light blue who has been going up and down the riverbank since we have arrived, just looking for anything. And I'll just add an anecdote. Yesterday, we were in Kerrville and then Ingram. So today we made the trip up to Hunt, where Camp Mystic is. And the damage up here is extensive. I mean, you can really see where that rushing water was raging downstream. And last update from Governor Abbott is, I'm being told that this man does have a badge. Okay, so we've been told that there are first responders that are going up and down this river, just trying to search for any information. But like Governor Abbott said earlier last night, and first responders earlier today, this is a challenging recovery effort. It's an incredible amount of debris. There's trees that are blown down. We saw furniture and cars wrapped in the trees. Boulders. My photographer and I took a little bit of a trek for us to get up here. Yeah, I do see that man has a badge, but yeah, we're out here just trying to get any information. It is somber, I can tell you, here at Camp Mystic, but Casey, it's all hands on deck.
Yeah, Peyton, you talked about your trek, and I wonder how you guys got there, because we obviously initial reports were that roads were washed out. They couldn't even access it because of debris, which is why there had to be so many of those evacuated by air, by those helicopter baskets. What was it like? How difficult was it for y'all to get through?
I can definitely see how yesterday and Friday helicopters were absolutely needed to get these girls and these people to safety. Today, the water has receded. And as that water has receded, we can get across the bridge, but you can see just how high up the debris was on these trees. You have tires that are in the tops of the trees. So you can see why they were not able to get to these girls and get to the people immediately, and they had to bring in those choppers. But today it has receded, but at the same time, it's also dark and devastating to just see how high up the water was and how high up the debris is in the top of the trees that now everyone's searching.
Yeah,
mattress in the tree.
Devastating, just maybe an understatement.
I see it.
As you do look live at that mattress, just eerily hanging from a tree branch.
No, Corpus Christi is probably, I would say, about 5 hours south of this area. This is closer to San Antonio, Austin. This is probably, I would say, a couple of hours east of Austin and San Antonio. So the coast is quite a bit of ways.
And, obviously spent a lot of time at disasters myself as a correspondent through the years at Fox News. And one thing that always kind of haunted me was going into neighborhoods after those flash floodwaters had receded and seeing the line on the exterior of the home where the water had been. So since there's a lot of structures not even around there, those trees sort of serve as a benchmark to show you how high the water was, and to think that, 36 hours ago, Peyton, where you're standing right now was covered with rushing water. Dylan Federico, again, is here with us here at the desk. I'm just narrating this for you. Again, folks watching us on Fox Digital and our streaming platforms, this is a different format, okay? This is not a traditional polished newscast where everything is quick, sharp. This is live. This is happening as we are on the air. We are watching this with you, the viewer. So I'm pointing things out that we don't normally point out on a newscast. But Peyton, obviously, and her photographer, John Gannan, are in the middle of hell on earth right now. So they don't have the best signals, and they don't have images in return, as we call it, and things like that. So that's why I'm describing everything to you, Peyton. Dylan is here, and Dylan had some questions for you as well, if you don't mind.
Let me go ahead and show y'all the geography, because they're really, and then we'll get back to that. Let me show you exactly where. Hope everybody's doing good. Those of you that are coming in. See, as you can tell, this area right here is where the floods happened, all the way from San Angelo, all the way down through Junction, probably all the way through here. And I heard it went through Georgetown. Georgetown's over here, so it probably branched off. I heard Menard, Mason, Llano County, Burnett County. So it went not only south, but it also went east. So here's San Antonio. Here's Waco. Austin is right here in between these two. And here's the coast. There's Corpus. So if that gives you some kind of layout over where we're talking about, is this area right here is where the river was. See, because there's all these camps along the river, because people go for summer camps over by the river, because you like to camp by the river, do water sports, all that stuff. I mean, look at all these camps all the way down. And she said there was all the way down to New Braunfels, which New Braunfels is where the Guadalupe River and I believe the Colorado River is where they meet. So New Braunfels is over here in this area. So all this area was probably, it seemed like all of it was running down. Like they said, all this area right here just kind of runs down. You can almost see it on the landscape. I hope that helps a little bit. No, Texas is over here in this area. He's in East Texas, so he's over here in this area somewhere. He's not far from there, but he's over here in this area. I used to live right here in Henderson, right here. Henderson, Texas. But once again, you know, it's tragic that this happened, but you could kind of see how all this is carved out. They call this the hill country. And there's New Braunfels right there. New Braunfels has rivers that go along it. They have, as you can see, they have Canyon Lake. They have all these areas where you can float the river all through town. They have water chutes, all kinds of stuff. And I mean, we don't have an awesome beachfront, so I guess a lot of Texans enjoy the rivers and the lakes during the summer, unlike going to the coast, because our coast is really nasty due to all the oil spills and everything that have happened over time. So a lot of people spend their time along the rivers and the lakes. You know, yes, Shreveport's not far from there. Yeah, it takes a long time to get through there, for sure.
Yeah, I have a little bit of a layered question. Talking to people down there that may have been around Camp Mystic, was there any sense that there was a flood threat the day before the flood occurred? And also, did anybody get any kind of a warning about flooding that night, or was the only thing that happened was as they woke up to the floodwaters rapidly rising? Did you get any kind of a sense of how that evolved that night?
I cannot speak for the Camp Mystic girls and the counselors, but speaking to people around the area, we've driven through neighborhoods that are completely wiped. I mean, it is the bottom of the house and it's completely gone. From what I've heard is there was the alarm on your phone, a ping on your phone that came around 2 a.m. Some people took that seriously, and some people were like, oh, I don't know, what's going to happen. But as the water started to come in, people became more concerned. And then I'm being told that it came in a matter of minutes. So I've heard that they did get a warning. Some people did get a warning on their phone initially when it was happening around that 2 a.m., 3 a.m. time. And then they had to make a decision. As for the day before, which I believe was Thursday, that's July 3rd, from when I'm talking from locals in the area and people who were visiting for July 4th, they knew rain was coming. They knew a July 4th, their holiday, maybe a wet weekend, maybe have some rainy forecast. But I do not believe anyone expected any of this. Speaking with some people who were at that RV park over in Ingram, Texas, just a few south of the river, again, they told me they were closing up the restaurant. It closes at 2 a.m. And as they were closing up the restaurant, they did get the alerts on their phone. And then within the next hour,
so they weren't
the RV park was underwater.
Okay, so they just
so I do think a lot of people were sleeping.
Yeah, and just to kind of piggyback on what you were saying there, Peyton, looking at the history, there's a history of deadly flooding along that river. I believe in 1987, there was a terrible flood that happened on the Guadalupe River, but also back in 1932, there was another terrible flood. So I'm just surprised that and we'll have conversations about this later. Obviously, the focus right now is on search, and with the trees behind you, that water was moving violently fast, and it doesn't matter how strong of a swimmer you are, you don't stand a chance with water moving that fast, and it's very hard to get out of water moving that. So once the water rose, I mean, it swept everything that was there away, and it just with it being at night, and also the other thing is too, there's been a lot of discussion about warnings and getting alerts to people, but this couldn't have happened at a worse time of the year. This is literally a worst case scenario. 4th of July, a lot of people down there, and happening at the middle of the night as well. So
So there you have it. You have the breakdown of the storms. I mean, I could just go on and on and on and keep showing, but it doesn't change. It doesn't change what I reported the other day. It doesn't change with the visuals today. If you have any family members that are down in that area, please continue to seek help and locating them if they haven't been located. If you have any information on the girls that are still missing, please notify the local authorities or call 911 because there are still people missing in this flood, and many families are wondering what exactly happened to their family members. There's a family from North Texas, I believe, that was down there. The whole family is missing. It's tragic. It's tragic. I always used to see the Midwest floods, and I think to myself, well, how could how could people be trapped in their homes? How could they be above on their roofs and everything's flooded underwater? There's people in boats and all this stuff. It's like, man, you don't really realize it until you see that water rushing. Like I said, I'm going to be down there in 2 weeks. I'm even thinking about canceling my reservation and staying up closer to the DFW area. I really am because I don't know. I just don't. I mean, anything that we were going to do was going to be kind of river related. It was going to be, cooling off and stuff. So I'm going to call down there, see if I can get my reservation canceled. Um, Rondi says San Marcos is under flash flood warnings as well. It was so crazy to see people in their house floating. Yeah. Walt says he's been through San Marcos. It's a very pretty town. The town, the university there is Sam Houston University, um, which I am trying to get my master's through their online program. I tell you, it's a small world. It's a small world. But hopefully, people continue to show up to the channel to see different types of lives and shorts and all kinds of stuff because I know that you want to hear about Idaho. I know that you want to hear about all the updates. If I do anything else, it'll be at the sentencing, not anything long because the sentencing is not going to be as dramatic as people think that it's going to be. It's going to be basically the judge saying, well, I sentence you to this and I sentence you for that because you've already pleaded. There's not going to be any theatrics. There's not going to be any last minute witnesses. There's not going to be any kind of, oh, Brian's going to be set free today. It's none of that. So if you're anticipating that, I hate to burst your bubble, but it's not going to happen like that. Yeah, you got to enjoy your days because life is too short, man. You could be in an RV down by the river enjoying your family time, and next thing you know, you're fighting for your life, trying to save everybody. Just tragic. But we should never be fearful of living our lives to our best of our ability. Bad things happen to good people, and that's the tragic part of life. Never be scared to leave your front door because of what could happen. Because you know what? Inside your home is 100 times more viable for something to happen wrong and you lose your life. You know what I mean? So all I can say is if you send good vibes, please send good vibes to the first responders, the families, the clinicians, hospital personnel, the workers clearing that area off, the business owners that have lost a lot of things, you know. Send good vibes that way if you are a believer. Um because we need it. We need it down there. And you know, unfortunately, this won't be the last one we cover, I'm sure. Like I said, I left Dallas Fort Worth at 9:30 this morning, and that rain was already coming in. And those big cities flood quickly too because they're mostly concrete, so there's no runoff. If their runoff gets, overrun or whatever, they start to flood. So I hope you guys get the word out that this is a good place to come and chat, regardless of the things that we cover here. We do try to have a good time, and we do try to accommodate individuals on their thought processes and the news stories that are happening today as we leave those behind that have been settled. No need to continue to rehash certain things because they've been settled in court, like it or leave it. You know what I mean? Yeah, the sportatorium was cool, wasn't it? I saw a lot of wrestling matches in there. Actually, that was in Fort Worth, I thought. Man, I'm still yawning like I need to take a nap. But I got to take my ass to the store. I don't have any food in the house. But you guys be sure to hit the like on your way out. Subscribe, share, because, this is a good place to get your information. As you've seen, I do different types of things here that other channels do not do regarding true crime. So I'm not going to give you a big pitch. You're either going to like it or you're not. You're either going to show up or you're not. I hope to see you soon, though. To the rest of you that continue to show up, thank you so much for being here with me on this Sunday. And all I got to say right now is, Maestro, cue that music. I might be back tonight. I don't know yet. So y'all hit your notification. Make sure they're on so that you can never miss a show from 12 Gauge Investigative.